Welcome back, everybody, to your favorite podcast, Far From Finished. Welcome back, Josh. I'm glad to have you back on the show again, sir. It's been a week since I've last seen you.
Hey, man.
Great to have you back
I saw
here.
you this morning and yesterday, so I don't believe that it's been a week since the last time I seen you. But in the studio, yes, it has been a week since the last time we've been here and the last time we recorded. But you're a liar, and I saw you today. We had breakfast, or lunch, actually.
It's nice to see you back in the studio with me again to record another podcast here on everyone's favorite show with their favorite hosts. If you don't know by now, I'm Daniel Velasquez.
And I'm Joshua Moreno, and thank you guys for listening once again. We appreciate you for tuning in to another week with us here at the Chance Maynard and Joel Teague studios, keeping it real and keeping it honest. But enjoying another week and living this life we have. We had an interesting few days this weekend. It was a couple of interesting parties we had.
I've had some interesting moments as well myself. A couple of things I had to go through, but we're past that now. We're pushing forward.
Fuck yeah.
Hell yeah. So if you listen to the last podcast, I always set a challenge. Always. So 5 minutes a day of meditation was one of them. I definitely recommend still doing that. If you have been doing that, bump yourself up to 10 minutes. It's going to seem like a long time, but I promise you'll get there. I finally made it to 30 minutes not that long ago. Feels amazing to finally push myself 30 minutes a day of meditation. Makes you feel better. You start the day off right. You can start accomplishing things a lot better. Well, personally, in my opinion, anyways. Another big one was do something you enjoy doing every day, even if it's a small thing like coloring. If you want to color in a coloring book, go buy a coloring book today. Just color for 20 minutes a day, 10, 15. Trust me, I do that also, so that's why I said that. But
coloring can be a therapeutic process.
It is. You're just sitting there, you're not thinking about anything else but what color you're going to use, unless you're stressing out about that.
As well as creative.
In a sense, yeah, it is for some people.
You can draw like some green elephants and purple pineapples.
Purple pineapples are kind of cool, though. I saw one time. Not in real life, but like,
I was like, wait, what?
On a drawing. Nah, it wasn't.
Sounds like a rotten pineapple, son.
That'd be kind of cool though to see an actual purple pineapple.
I mean, if it wasn't rotten and you could eat it and it was still healthy for you and you wouldn't die,
genetically
then maybe.
modified pineapple, but that's for another day. But also, okay, last one I gave last week was give a compliment to somebody, or just go out of your way to try to make someone's day. Just say, hey, I hope you're having a good day. You're a beautiful person. Even if maybe you don't necessarily think they are, it might make their day. But try to be genuine with your compliments and with your words. It can make a world of difference to not only you. You might feel better about yourself, but to the people that you're going with as well. So kind of keep those things going along. If I'm going to give a challenge this week, do you have anything you want to say, Josh? A challenge you might want to give the people this week?
Don't be an asshole at all. That's not acceptable. Don't be an asshole.
All right, be as honest as you can be without being an asshole.
Okay, yeah. I mean, there's a difference. You can be honest but you can also not be an asshole. But in saying that, I'm saying if you have the urge to be an asshole and you know that you're just being honest, just don't say it. Maybe just like mind your own business and just move on with your day. Unless that person means something to you and you actually don't want them to like continue to hurt themselves, then find a way to not be an asshole and be honest with them. That's my motive. But if you're just gonna be an asshole and be honest to every person, like just walking down the street and like, hey, that's an ugly sweater. Hey, I don't even know you, but your shoes are untied and you look right now. Ha.
We don't say that word anymore, George.
Okay, I don't care. This is not, well, I do care, but not that much. Anyways, what I'm saying is you don't just be honest to the people you care about and with yourself and everybody else. Don't be an asshole. Just do your thing and mind your own business.
Exactly. Don't go around just making people feel worse about that. You look stupid. My mom always used to tell me, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Boom.
You probably don't live by that, but that's probably something you should start living by.
There's a difference between criticism and constructive criticism, and that's something that this country needs to learn.
Fine line. Treat others how you want to be treated.
The golden rule.
Treat others how... It's golden and it's a rule, all right?
RESPECT.
All right, here we go, guys. Podcast Far From Finished. life is always going to be something that interests me because people always do very interesting things. Recently at work, personally, shouts out Perry Steakhouse. Beautiful place to work, by the way. It's not the worst. I'm a server. But you deal with people on a daily basis, and people are not mindful of how they treat you at all.
I mean,
well, some
people are. For the most part, they're not. Especially in like dining and service industry, for sure.
Yeah, no, they just go get me this, slave boy. Like, okay, I'm on my. Yes, aye, Captain, sir. I'm gonna go get it. And I just always think people can be a little bit more mindful whenever you go out. This doesn't have anything to really do with what I'm going to be talking about. I just want to put that out there for everyone.
Large tangent here.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, treat your servers with a little bit of respect. Because you know what? If not, if you really want to, we can meet out in the parking lot
Daniel's
afterwards.
heard about this one. Daniel's really got passion in this one. He said, if you want to meet me in the parking lot, I'll give you a strongly worded letter that I wrote myself.
So, hey, you know what, pal? I wrote this for you while I was at work. Let that be a lesson to you.
Don't you let yourself slip from reading every single word on that page, because I meant it with all of the passion in my heart.
Be a nice person. Be nice to your servers and tip them well, please.
Unless they suck at their job.
I'm suing you for emotional stress.
Look, some servers can't do their job right. I understand it. I'm a server too, and I've seen people break. I've seen people cry because somebody yelled at them that they refilled their Sprite with water on accident. And they started crying about it. And I mean, honestly, it's not a job for everybody. If you cry about that and you come to me crying about it, I'm going to tell you to quit, because I don't want to deal with your shit either. That's terrible. If that's simple of an interaction, if somebody being like, bro, that's a Sprite, and you're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, at that point, I'm just like, bro, just quit your job, please, because I don't want to deal with you crying to me tomorrow about somebody yelling about the steak being prepared wrong or some shit like that.
I'm not going to be one of the people that say people become really sensitive, but I think people have, with the way life has gone, people have become really sensitive because people think that things are always going to go your way. Well, here's a life lesson for you if you haven't learned it by now. That's not true. They won't always go your way, and you got to deal with it. If you're crying because someone yelled at you and you're a server, stop. Don't do that.
It's not worth it. It's like my first reaction is be like, honestly, I'm not saying quit because you're so incompetent, this isn't a job for you. It's just like, quit because why are you allowing yourself to get this stressed out over a job that means nothing to you? This isn't your restaurant, your family's business or anything like that. It's just a corporation restaurant that you work for. You're just a small piece of their puzzle. So at that point, why are you allowing anybody in this restaurant to stress you out so hard that you gotta cry and be so distressed and find yourself in this room now crying to complete strangers that aren't really your friends? They're just your coworkers. At that point, I'm just like, bro, quit, because this isn't for you. You can't just walk in here every day and cry just because you need money.
Well, your coworkers can be your friends. I mean, that's besides the point.
They can be. That's besides the point.
But yes, you're very right. But also, just to keep in mind, everybody, Josh is someone who goes into work and is not the example to be set for anybody.
I'm the example to be set for people that know how to make money and don't deal with bullshit. That's me. I don't deal with anybody's, but I do my job extremely and absolutely to the point. I do exactly what I need to do.
No less, no more.
Put it this way, I read the fucking rule book of my job just so I can know what I can get away with. How about that? Do that. That's what you should do. Because look, if you're over here, look, this doesn't apply to small businesses, like in like companies that are run by families that, like, obviously don't hold your parents or don't hold your brothers and sisters and make them got to do more work just because you're a lazy bitch.
But you also have done that as well.
No, I haven't. That wasn't my family.
Okay, that's fair. But it was still a small business.
Hey, they're not that small either. They got Angelo's. They got that man got a whole storage unit. They're not broke.
He's not. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. All right.
Look, that's what I'm saying. Don't hoe over a company that needs you. But look, if you work for a large scale corporation or anything like that, if at any point you allow somebody that says they're your manager to be like, hey, do this, do that, and if you speak back at me, you're fired, If you allow that person to stress you out and make you feel bad about yourself or below anything or below them just because they have a title, at that point you're losing. Stop it right now. You need to pull out the handbook, pull out the rules of the job, figure out how you could do your job successfully, efficiently, and to the point, while also not giving a fuck about anybody else's work, because that's not your business. Your business is how you do your work and whether or not you're doing a good job. That's what you're getting paid for, right?
That is what you're getting paid for.
All right. I mean, that's a different scenario than like in maybe like in like laboratories and things like that, where you like use each other's research and work to do your own research. Maybe that's different, but I'm talking about kind of like all that I know, which is like service industry and like retail and things like that.
But even if you have a job,
sales,
you should always know what you're capable of, and you should know what you can get away with and what you're supposed to be doing and what your job capabilities are. Serving is not that hard of a job.
It's not.
So if you're over here making it difficult, or you have someone coming over to you and trying to micromanage, listen, I understand you have certain rules you have to abide by, but there's also the point where if I'm doing pretty much everything I need to do, there's no reason to come talk to me. Put it
this way, if you work for a sales company, they're very highly likely not going to fire you for being late every day if you're the number one in sales by a large margin.
I mean, hell yeah. The guy that I work with, he's the number one in sales. He's late every day.
Exactly.
He's late every day.
That's my point. In most, maybe not everywhere, but in most places, if you are doing above and beyond above everybody else, they're not going to get on your ass for the simple shit that they get on everybody else's ass for. They're not going to they'll fire you for being late. And you've been there for a minute now. It's not like you just like started working there. You've been there for a clean 8 months now.
Man, I do my job.
You do your job. Don't get me wrong. But you're not
number one in sales.
You're not number one in sales. You're not working doubles all the time. You're not like.
First of all, we're not even open all day.
Okay, fuck you. You get my point though. You're not up there in the company like with the managers. The managers aren't like, come on, Daniel, I'll take you under my wing, type shit. Like they are with these other people that are just out here making bread for the company.
Yeah, putting in their work.
At that point, that's what I'm saying. If you're doing such a good job at your company, that at that point you can do whatever you want. They're not really gonna like hassle you for the bullshit. Obviously, you might not be able to like have sex on the job or like do drugs on the premises.
I'm pretty sure people do that.
I'm pretty sure people do that too. But look, that's probably not gonna be like encouraged or allowed.
I hope not. It's not good for business.
It's not good for business.
Maybe. Well, it depends on what business you're working.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it depends on what the business is.
Fair point. But that's what I'm saying. At that point, I mean, like if you do your job to the utmost ability and you kind of like outshine your peers, at that point, who's gonna tell you, hey man, you gotta do better? Like, what's wrong with you? You know better than that. I can be like, I mean, come on, man, you know you can't do that. Just don't do that again, and that's it. That's all you're gonna hear about it.
When I think about working, just even as a serving job, it's really not that hard to do your job, which makes me think of people who go and get degrees as well. It's hard to get a job out here. Yeah, I mean, most jobs do say you need experience and it's hard to get in somewhere. But I feel if you really work towards something you enjoy doing, let's say you're getting a job to be a lawyer. You know what I mean? Of course, no one's going to come out the gates. Yeah, you're going to be the top salesman. You're going to be the top lawyer in your firm.
In your class or
in your
whatever,
firm.
yeah.
You know, you're not going to come right out the gate with your degree saying, I'm opening my own law firm. I'm going to have all the clients.
Right.
No,
you gotta work
that's
your way
naive.
up.
You got to work your way up no matter what you do. And working in any business, people just want things to happen. We're blessed to have that these days, to just expect, I deserve this because I'm a human being.
Right.
There was days when people were cavemen saying, I don't know if I'm going to live because I might get mauled by a bear.
Yeah, in those days, you didn't have a job. Your job was survival.
Exactly. You wake up, let's go hunting. All right, I hope you come home in a week or two.
Or no, they'll probably come home that day. Sometimes, but I mean, they have in like villages, they'll go out for the day to hunt while the other people's gather. I mean, they probably come back either that day or the day after, unless they're hunting so well that they have an overstock that they can be out for 2 weeks. Otherwise, the village is going to be without food for those.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's feast or famine.
That's what I'm saying. Their job was survival. And like it was a collective job for everyone. If somebody's lazy and they're like, nah, I'm not gonna work today. I'm not gonna hunt or I'm not gonna gather. You're like, all right, you're not gonna eat either, bitch. Like, because we're hunting, we're gathering, we're eating. You ain't doing shit.
And now you have people over here saying a degree should certify that I'm gonna get a job, should guarantee I want to get this,
well,
or
you have a better chance of getting a good job or a good paying job or a good lasting job if you have a degree.
And this is what I'm saying.
And that's in air quotes.
And you do. There, for some cases, most of the time, if you want to be an engineer or anything, unless you're extremely smart. If you're extremely smart, you don't really need to go to college unless it's, for research or the job says, just get the piece of paper, we're going to hire you regardless.
Mm-hmm.
If you're really smart, you're going to get that job no matter what. But people out here saying, oh, if I get this piece of paper, how dare them not give me this job, or I need experience. Be happy that that's going to, don't get me wrong. I think student debt and I think college is a scam. That's
definitely a business.
It is a business. But if you know that it's not going to guarantee you a job, then why would you pick something you're not going to want to do? Because wouldn't that make it that much harder for you to want to get a job?
Yes.
Or to be able to get a job?
Logistically, it doesn't make sense. But as far as I guess the thought process goes, it's like maybe I might not want to do that, but that's a good paying job that I could potentially get later on. So maybe if I get that degree, then while I'm getting it or after I get it, I can figure out what I actually want to do. And if I don't figure it out, then I'll always have a fallback option.
That's true.
Which is a failing mindset.
That's what I'm saying. And I guess where I'm trying to go with this is the fact, if you know that it might not work out, or you have, we're in a day and age where people are saying, I'm entitled to have this job, or I'm entitled to be able to be successful. You are. You should want to be successful.
Well, I mean, but you're only as entitled as much effort you put into
it. And if you know that this isn't going to guarantee you a spot on wherever you go, and you know that's not something you want to do, why would you continue to go down that road that not only you probably don't want to do it, so that's setting you back, and the chances of you getting that job are slim to none. I mean, so what drive are you really having to get that job other than the fact it could potentially pay you well?
That's probably the only factor that people pay attention to because of circumstances outside of their job or their passion. Maybe like family or living situation or things like that. Probably has a lot to do with most people. But for the majority of people that are just I think what you're talking about is somebody who goes to college unclassified in their degree. They're just going to college to figure out their degree later. You know what I mean? I'm going to do my basics, and while I'm doing my basics, then I'll figure out what I want my major to be. You know what I mean? Figuring
out what you want to do, that's fine, but you don't need to waste all that time and money doing that.
Those people is who I would kind of classify as the more I'm entitled to this extra education, even though I don't know what I should want to study or where I want to use my education towards or what job I want to apply any of this to. So basically, I'm just going to waste a lot of everybody's time and money, including mine.
I think college should be less money in the fact that
I think college should be pretty much free except for the maybe grad school. If you I think pretty much bachelor's degrees should be essentially free. Honestly, I feel just with room and board, all the colleges could make enough money to make that happen. With all of the money they make off football, fucking sports, room and board, all this other shit, I feel like tuition's unnecessary.
That's what I'm saying. You're already making money off of these other things. And, you give more people the availability to go to school and learn something and do something. Don't focus on the money so much because people are, I got to pay this money back. So you're going to want to get a better job. Being sustainable in life is getting a little bit more difficult due to inflation. Mm-hmm. But you still don't, if you know how to manage your money, you're not buying all this extra shit. You're not, I have credit, let me get this couch I can't afford, or this TV I can't afford. Some people do
that. A lot of people do that.
What I'm saying though is, for you, if the average American between a household, one single person could live off of $40,000 a year.
Less than that, 32.
32,000 a person.
Well, if you don't have kids, maybe.
Exactly. So 2 people, 32,000 a year apiece. But if you really work at whatever job you're doing, or you learn how to manage your money, you're not spending on unnecessary things, you could put that away, save that, and then learn to use your money in different ways. Because we live in an era now, and this is a big point I always like to make, is back then, you had to worry feast or famine. Now people are saying, I'm entitled to have this job, I'm entitled to make money. You should feel entitled to, financial freedom. You should feel entitled to live the life you want to. I don't disagree with that. But what I will disagree in is you trying to take the same path that everyone else is taking, and then let's say someone wants to pursue music, correct? or pursue some different lifestyle, and you're saying it's oversaturated. You're trying to tell me the college lifestyle is not oversaturated? So many people getting degrees out there.
It's like
not everyone's going to get the same job.
At this point, you can't really name a job that isn't oversaturated. You have to create that hole for yourself in the saturation. I mean, that's like saying like nobody should ever do any more science research because there's enough researchers out there that are doing science research right now. It's oversaturated. We have too many researchers researching science right now. So if you want to be a science researcher, sorry, that field's taken for the entire world. No more. Go do math or some shit.
You know what I'm saying? Is people take more time to put efforts into things that maybe are more important or things they actually enjoy. Innovation's going to skyrocket. People are going to start doing things they enjoy more, start opening new doors, which are going to open new jobs eventually. Because, like, all right, if you didn't listen to our old podcast, or the last one we just did, it was about AI. There's going to be a lot of jobs that we're not going to have anymore, but that'll leave room for more jobs to be created, or leave room for us to do things that are going to benefit us more.
Do you think that people's availability to create innovation is going to cause conflict or compromise?
I think more so compromise. Because I don't think it's much conflict. I think
if so many people have the availability to do kind of like, if they like, let's put it this way, is like not everything that's good for me is good for you, and to innovate is to make life more, I guess, desirable or better for humans as a whole.
In a sense.
So therefore, if all it takes is for one person's view to differ from the masses and them have the availability to create just as much innovation as the masses, to have something that creates conflict, no?
It could be. But also, I think the way that capitalism works, and most places are based off of capitalism now. We can't deny that fact.
Right.
And that's based off of consumerism. So if a bunch of people aren't going to want to buy into that.
I would disagree, because people still make guns. Why do people buy that?
I mean, there's a bunch of people who love to hunt. People who love to just shoot guns. There's a market for it.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I was like, there's a market for that, but that causes conflict too.
You're right. So I guess there will be
conflict. But that's actually a perfect comparison, because for the masses, they like to hunt or they like to collect guns, but all it takes is one person to deviate from the mass to create a conflict.
So I guess in that sense, there would but there's probably going to be both. There's going to be conflict. So in order for there not to be conflict, there would need to be a compromise. Right. Exactly. And so if you were to look at innovation as it has progressed over time, it's only been 0.01% since we lived in what people would call a positive sum world. Positive sum shit. Yeah, there you go.
Positive sum world.
So beforehand, it was what people would call a zero sum world, which, if you don't know what that is, it was basically, divide and conquer. I'm taking your land, bitch. Like, this is my land now. You're running and flagging the land like, this is mine. So it was either you were rich or you were poor mostly. You had it all or you had nothing.
Right.
You had queens and kings, rich people, and then everyone else is getting the scraps.
It reminds me of Colin Quinn's joke. He said, "Hey, I like this house." In the world before, like, real estate agents said, "Hey, I like your house. I want to live it." And he said, "Hey, this is my house. I like it too." He said, "Okay, well, are you ready to die for it? Because that's where this is going."
And he said, I'm going to go grab the sharpest thing in my backyard, chop off your head, put it on the pole, said, "This house is sold. This is my house.
Not for sale." Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
So that's how life was.
But whenever the Industrial Revolution hit, which relatively, that wasn't that long ago.
Right.
Even if you're looking on the grand scheme, or even if you're looking just the time we've been alive, that's still not that long ago that the Industrial Revolution happened. But when it did hit, that's when things started exponentially just growing and growing, because it gave people more opportunity, more jobs, factories, people working in factories, people were being able to build more, money was coming in, giving people more opportunity to do more.
And things like that.
Yeah, and then gave more people more free time to dabble in other things, which built innovation even more so, because people were able to think about different things and say, hey, what if this worked, put more time into it,
right,
and create these businesses. Think about it. You have e-commerce now.
Well, that
you don't have to leave your home to sell things.
That led to the technological revolution too.
As well. Exactly. Which is going to grow even faster exponentially then the Industrial Revolution had us grow.
Right.
So
Well, it already has grown faster than the Industrial Revolution had us grow. It's only been like 20 years.
20 years, yeah.
What, like 25 years at the most?
And look where we've gotten.
The Industrial Revolution was what, like 1900 through like 1970?
I think the technological revolution didn't hit till really the 80s.
Right.
So
that
yeah.
was the 90s. I don't know.
Well, the first really like supercomputer was in the 90s.
Regardless, there's already been so much exponential change in the technological revolution. It's surpassed any other era, in my opinion, at least.
And that only accounts from the time of the Industrial Revolution to now. That's 0.01%.
It's like 120 years.
0.01% since humans have been alive. That's not shit. Mm-hmm. And for us to come from that to now being saying, I deserve a job. Bro, people were working like 15-hour shifts in the factories just trying to make a living.
Kids were working 15-hour shifts.
Before then, people were on farms. Kids didn't have the chance to even go to school. People weren't even able to go to school. You have to quit that and come work on the farm with your family because we're poor. Fuck, I don't even have the chance. But think about it.
Well, that's back whenever people were having kids as assets rather than children.
Yeah, they need help on the farm.
Yeah, it's like, we have too many acres. Honey, we're gonna have to have another kid.
And now
that's how it was. Like back then, oh fuck, I forgot what it was, but it was like, I think like in like war times and like I think like in the Middle Eastern countries, they were like literally sending children out on minefields because they were saying like, I can have another son, I can't have like another me type shit. Like it was getting to that point. Like I can have another child, but I can't replace myself. That's crazy as fuck. But that's how it kind of got. I feel like it got to that. Like it had to have gotten to that point.
And now people are at a point where I don't even want to bring a kid into this world.
Well, I mean, now we're in like a children what's the word for like kind of like addicted to making life so safe for children instead. And it's only been like maybe 100 years at the most since children were fucking literally landmine fucking crash dummies.
I mean, we're still kind of crash dummies.
No, I'm talking about people like do anything to save like their child from like a sensitive thing or anything, like super sensitive with how their children interact with media and other people and shit like that.
Oh yeah. No.
Back then they're like, fuck the kids, like type shit. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know, because back then it was, now kids are able to see anything on the internet.
But they're extremely glorified is what I'm saying. Children.
Now or
yeah, now.
Now, oh, for sure.
Now.
My kid doesn't need to see that.
But yeah, it's like, well, then why'd you let your kids see that, son? I mean,
the internet's a crazy place. You're gonna see stuff. You go to school, they're gonna.
I mean, why'd you get your? I mean, I guess at school potentially, but even that is like, I mean, you can teach your child to be a good person, a kid.
Well, you can do your best.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I mean, if I'm speaking as this now, but if technology is at its certain point where it's at now, where it's kind of controllable to an extent as far as parental and like controls go, my child's not getting a phone, iPad, none of that shit till they're at least in high school or some shit.
You're gonna read books. You're gonna learn a little bit. Then
for sure.
I think, yeah, because but that's why kids are learning fast.
I want my children to learn to enjoy reading, not feel like it's a chore like they had us feeling. Like in school back in the day, I felt like reading was such a chore because they would have us reading bullshit. But then I actually got into reading like certain books that I loved. Like I loved like spy mysteries, like James Bond type books and shit like that. I also loved like books like what was that book called? The people that lived in the fucking sewers. That's you know what I'm talking about.
We read it in school.
Yeah, I know. I love that book.
That book was really good though. I forgot what it was called. It was Neil Shusterman. I remember that. I can't remember.
Such a good
can't
book.
remember the name of the book to save my life.
I actually found a few books that I liked, but the fact that in school, like in our high school, they had us read Romeo and Juliet every single year of English in high school except for senior year because we were in like AP shit.
We watched the whole rendition of the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio.
I was just like,
I did not like.
Do y'all think we didn't understand this last year or like the year before?
I mean,
the year before, and it's just like, bro, like do y'all trying to push some like narrative here?
I don't
at
remember
this
any
point?
of it though, to be fair.
I mean, I remember most of it. I was just saying, like, is there a narrative trying to be pushed here at some point? It's like, why do we have to read this shit every fucking year? Y'all making this mandatory, dog. That was always weird to me.
Yeah, no, I didn't really enjoy reading Romeo and Juliet. Besides that, though, Industrial Revolution, kids, but we've come a long way since then, and it's been fast, and a lot is going on, but innovation has gotten a lot easier to become a thing now. You know, back then when you're farming, you had maybe you'd be able to send your kid to college. You know, you're putting all your scraps together to send one kid to college.
I mean, that's kind of how it is now.
It's getting to that point, but you have financial aid, but then you're owning.
I'm saying
owning money
like in certain parts of the country, it's like that now still.
But learning is cheap. If you really want to learn, it's relatively cheap. You can go online. You can download PDFs. That's what I do. I hope no one's watching this. I hope that's not illegal. But you know, you can buy the book.
Textbooks or like
reading books. You can just download PDFs and read the book on your phone.
Right.
I still prefer hard copies because I don't really enjoy reading from a screen. I enjoy reading from a hard copy.
Have you tried reading comic books from a screen?
No.
It's perfect.
I'd imagine that's a little bit different.
Because instead of seeing
the graphics pop a little bit more.
No, not even that. But it's not even that. It's like in the comic book, I learned about this on, I think it was Joe Rogan's podcast, but then I actually started like looking into it. It's actually live, bro. Because in a regular comic book, you can see all the frames. So if there's like an explosion over here, but you're over here, you know that explosion's coming. So like whenever it's like on your phone or on an iPad or something like that, it's just single frames. So you don't know what's gonna happen next. So you swipe through it. It's like better.
That's way better, yeah.
Better as far as your anticipation goes.
That's kind of awesome how that's progressed over time.
Look, yeah.
Because people have not older heads who still enjoy comic books, but a lot of newer
still collections
kids,
and things like that.
Yeah, but people don't read comic books as much. So I guess that's a good way to get people back involved and make it kind of a new way back. Yeah,
sure.
No, superheroes. Yeah, we've talked about that before as well. You know,
there's more comic books than just superheroes. I mean, there's like Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider's not really even a superhero.
It's like an anti-hero almost. He's a hero, but he doesn't want to be.
He's a hero that murders people.
I mean, most heroes are
not really
kind of murder people.
Not Marvel.
Not on purpose.
Not really even that. It's like you don't even really see that many deaths in Marvel.
Yeah, but if you're a superhero destroying buildings, someone's in that building. I guarantee you that is toppling over. Yeah. Someone's dying. If they're going through buildings and destroying
I feel you.
It's like, oh, it was a person there. Like, we're just gonna forget about it? No.
But it's not as like graphic as like DC comics and films where they're like stepping on people's necks and fucking literally throwing people off of buildings and shit. It's like, I don't think that man landed on a parachute or like had a parachute or anything like that. I don't think there was a helicopter waiting for him off the side of that building. Pretty sure he died.
It's kind of cool how they've come to that though, and so many more ideas are coming into play. And the more that people have the free time to do that, that's what I think about mostly. Is if we stop worrying about all these, oh, we're gonna be losing these jobs. Let's worry about, oh, we're gonna have more time to come up with new ideas. And I know we got off a little off track, but with the positive sum world, when you're really thinking about it and how people are coming, you know, comic books now on your screen, if you're in a positive sum world adverse to I have more so you have less, which we're still partially in, the 1% still over here, oh, I have $1 billion, ha ha ha. There's people homeless.
Right.
You know, but it's more opportunity now. You have more of a chance to make money and more of a chance to grow,
right,
and become an entrepreneur. Books at your fingertips, the internet, all the knowledge you can have. People are posting videos on YouTube. People are showing you step by step how you can do it. It's just at this point, don't be a lazy fuck and put in the effort. It might take you a week, 2 weeks, maybe a year. Relatively, that's not that long if you want to put it in the work. And then what it's saying is, it's a selfish way of thinking about it is if I'm helping you, that's helping me. Mm-hmm. Because if I'm helping you put money in my pocket and you're helping me put money in your pocket, that's giving us more money to put towards research, towards things that are going to help us later down the road. And if we're all progressing, that's giving us all more money to say, hey, you know what? Maybe I can find the cure to this.
Right.
Or, hey, maybe like we could find better alternatives for energy. But, you know, you need the money for that research. or you need the time to do that research.
Definitely time. Money's probably only as important as the resources needed for the research.
Which sometimes it is a lot.
Right. And sometimes it's not. I would say focus more on the research itself, on how you want to implement it rather than the funds. Funds can come once, if like put it this way, is like there can be somebody that invests in your research because they believe in such like in the concepts and fundamentals that you are basing your research off of. So your funds can come in separate ways. Don't necessarily focus on just funds. Focus on how you can do better and actually how to implement that plan that you have.
But you're gonna want to learn financial freedom. I feel is
financial
kind of
freedom
important,
is
so you do have that
important to
time.
an
So you
extent.
have that time.
I mean, because look, financial freedom is only important to the extent of natural disasters and things that you can't plan for. But as far as the research goes, it's not necessarily going to be such a big like task that you need to overcome as far as your time, because your time doesn't necessarily need to be spent so much at work. If you have such, like, put it this way, is like, did Steve Jobs have a day job whenever he was coming up with Apple? Right. He was in school, taking acid on campus, living life, smoking weed, doing what he did, but focusing on his research. I'm
His ideals, yeah.
I'm sure he wasn't focusing on funds. I'm sure he wasn't focusing on how he was going to get paid for this invention. He was focusing on his invention and what to do with it and how to implement it. In my opinion, that's
the most important for
Right.
sure. I agree with that wholeheartedly. You should worry about the idea first, and the money will come later.
Right.
But if once everyone does start succeeding more, you're gonna have more time to do these things.
Right.
And then the funds will be there as well.
Right.
So everyone's gonna have this kind of this surge. It'll be a surge to where everyone's building, and to see us evolve from there, and where our society can build up and start putting these funds into these things that really matter, like our health.
Mm-hmm.
And then technology is already advancing, but seeing how that can help us.
Yeah.
And then space will be even easier of an idea, because so much more people will have money to put towards that, or have the time to put in
easier,
towards
but it'll be a conceptually like more appealing.
Yeah.
It won't be easier.
It won't necessarily be easier. Yeah, okay, I get you. It's still gonna take the time, but we progress a lot faster.
It'll be
if that were the
appealing.
case.
It'll be appealing conceptually. We'll be able to take like the time to say, now we can do that.
Exactly.
Because
And
there's
not
so
just-
much other shit going on now. It's like, why are we so worried about space? We can't even fix our own like.
But if we're helping each other out,
Right.
then it's gonna that'll make it easier, because
Right.
it will progress a lot faster. Instead of saying just me, think about it. Yeah, if you're focusing on just me, helping others, it's gonna help you.
Right.
So altruism, some people really believe that's the key to really making that difference. Is yes, focus on yourself, but helping others to do better in a smart and effective way will help you do better. There's even what's it called? Effective altruism is where people even calculate what's the best way to do things in the most effective, most efficient, and for the greater good.
It's like, how can I do the most better for the world?
Exactly. And they
Right.
calculate that out.
Right.
Whether that's going down on mass consumption, or, reducing mass production.
Or just reducing your own consumption.
Exactly.
Understanding that you may make $80,000, but you don't need $80,000. If you don't have any kids or car notes or anything that are tying you down financially, you just made $80,000 and put $50,000 in the bank, which is cool. That's good to save money for a rainy day. But do you need that $50,000 in the bank? Where can that be going to? Who can that help? And if that can help somebody or something do something that can progress society, are you willing to go and risk that? That's what this idea is if you are willing to risk it, it can end in something beautiful.
Exactly. And if you're self-sufficient, or you know how to grow this or grow that, help somebody else learn how to do that, send it forward.
It's a tough ideal to implement, though, because I mean, people are like, I worked for that money, why is that not my money now? You know what I mean? And that's where it's gonna be until people take it upon themselves to understand that money doesn't run the world, love kind of does. And it's like, if you like understand that money is just a piece of paper that pays for things that you consume or utilize or give to other people as gifts or receive as gifts or whatever it is, if you understand that money doesn't run the world, you do, or we do at least, then at that point you'll be understanding of, hey, I just made all this money, but I don't need it all. I like put it this way, is like if you're like Tyson Fury, he fucking donated all of the money of all of the rounds, I believe, like all of it. Not he didn't put none of the money in the bank with the fight with Deontay Wilder. Like it was like 12 or 15. I forgot how many rounds boxing goes to. I think it was 12. But all the money got donated. It was millions of dollars. And they're like, you didn't keep none. He's like, no, look, I have money. Like I don't. He just donated it all to, I believe, I think it was like research for anxiety and depression. I'm not sure what it was exactly what he donated it to, but he donated all of that shit. Because that's what I'm saying, is like at that point he realized, I'm a fighter at the highest level. I understand how much money I can make. If I fight again, I can make all that money back. It's like I'd probably already have some saved up type shit. And it's like at that point you have to understand that if you have the availability to make change that other people can't, then maybe you're the thing that's stopping that change from being made.
Exactly. I think part of that reason why it's still like that though is because of those past ideals. You know, whenever
of the zero sum.
Yeah, it's like humans do things a certain way so much you get used to that old way of doing things. We're still in a transitioning period of a lot more things are possible. You can make money from your bed just on the internet. People blog and make money, you know? And of course I'm not saying it's easy and it seems silly, but people are still in the mindset of when people were rich, you know, eating a bunch of money, eating a bunch of food, and then you have people picking up the scraps, and people are saying, go to school, get an education, and that was getting you money, you know? Yeah. And school was only for the rich at one point, but then school became more affordable, so to speak, than it was.
Right.
So people who had less money were able to go, and that gave a lot of people more opportunity. And it still does, in a sense, you know, people who come from not much are able to go to school and then give a life for their kids and for their family that's never been there before. Mm-hmm. So it still does that, but that's still almost getting to an old way of life at this point.
Right.
Because you don't need those as much. People are creating online businesses. Don't get me wrong, you can go to school for business. You can go to school for whatever you want to. What I'm saying is that there is more chance to do other things.
Right.
And we're still kind of stuck in this old way that we're used to, in this way that we've been used to for so long, and our brains are accustomed, and we're still evolving. So it's going to take us time to really understand how things are going to be or what they're becoming now.
Right. So at this point, we're not saying that you should take food off of your daughter's table and give it to charity. What we're saying is that you need to understand the diet that you and your daughter should have. Figure that out, because everybody's diet is different. And for some reason, our biology has decided that diets are going to be different for everybody, and that's just the way it is. So figure your diet out, understand how you can budget your money and yourself and your diet, and then whatever you have left over, instead of spending it on that new Xbox game that you will play for maybe a month and then put down and never play again, maybe give that money to somebody that can actually use it.
And video games are to be appreciated. They're a work of art. People take time to put into it. Don't get me wrong.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's like, maybe don't spend it on something that you know you're not going to need. Personally managing your money is like something that somebody told me when I was growing up in Boy Scouts, how to manage my money. Basically told me, he's like, look, if there's some item that you think is going to bring you joy, obviously not food, I mean, maybe even food if it's some sweets that you don't even need. It's like, let yourself interact with that thing, that item, that car, that house, that contract, whatever it is. Let yourself interact with it at least 3 times before you pay for it. Let yourself want it. Let yourself need it. Let yourself actually understand that it's supposed to be at your house, in your possession. Allow yourself 3 interactions with it. And then if you still have the interest or the understanding that that's something that you would like for your life, then purchase it. But at that point, you have thoroughly thought out this decision, thoroughly understood your purchase, and you're not going to be disappointed with it in the future.
You actually want what you're buying. It's not just
right.
It's not just on impulse at that point.
Right.
You've thought about
and
it.
And impulse buying is kind of the destruction of your own budget.
Oh, for sure. I definitely can agree with that. I've done it. I'm sure we've all done it a number of times.
Right.
You want something. especially now, you want something, you're getting it now.
Well, you have the availability to get it now, but
should you get it that's a totally different.
That's what I'm saying. Is like, are you really personally managing your money if you're getting everything off of impulse?
No, definitely not.
You're not managing your shit at all. You're allowing it to be managed.
I mean, they don't teach you that in school now either, though. They don't teach you financials. Some schools do, but most schools don't. The public school system is, in America at least, I can't speak for all countries, it's not great. They don't really teach you how to succeed in life. They teach you, hey, you need good grades, because in college you need good grades to get your degree. But if they really were to teach you what life is like, and also interacting with other people and helping people, managing your own money, and talking about, okay, this is what's going on, and even current events, talking about maybe current events and how technology is advancing and how you could adapt to that. Mm-hmm. That would be so much more helpful.
I mean, it's just, who do you have to teach that? Who teaches that class? Somebody that was financially secure throughout their life? Introduce me to that person, please. I dare you. There's not that many people like that. And if there are that many people like that, they have to want to teach that class now. So that's what I'm saying, is like, you're banking on a lot.
As of right now.
In this country, we're trillions of dollars in debt. Name 5 people that you know personally that are completely have $0 in debt, are on their shit financially, and have zero worries, and they would be able to teach a class about how to stay financially free. Can you name 5 people?
No, I had one business teacher in college. I don't remember his name.
I only know 2 people. One of them is my father. I only know 2 people I've ever met that have been financially stable enough to walk out their door and know that they're not gonna, like, if something happens, if somebody dies, somebody's car breaks down, they're gonna be all right. They're gonna figure that shit out.
A tough place to be, but
that's
where we should all aim to get and help each other get.
That's what I'm saying, is like, when you get to that place, it's hard to teach that, because once you're in that place, you expect everybody to like understand where you came from and what it took for you to get there. Some people are fucking cherry picking their whole life. They don't know what it means to struggle or work.
You're right.
So they don't know what it means to succeed through work.
There's a lot riding on. You're riding on a lot at this point.
That's what I'm saying. So what that also ties in is that should be taught in school. It's just hard to teach that in school.
It is a hard thing to teach. I mean, you could start with basics at least.
Potentially.
Or put people on what they should know and go learn it. Because we have the internet now, at least tell you, hey, this is something you should know. Because kids are going to school.
I would like for them to teach it in school. I just don't understand how they would implement it. It would have to take a lot of like very financially secure people to understand the curriculum that they can base.
Or just as someone who can show videos in school, here's homework, answer these questions.
Or even if they maybe implemented like somebody to go around schools like as an assembly or something like that, that would work too.
That wouldn't be bad. At least kind of start implementing it a little bit, pushing it in there. It would be a little bit.
Right, that would be nice.
It would be great. Another part of the positive sum world that really interested me, and when thinking about it, is the aspect that beauty would increase as well, and how beauty affects us. Because when you think about it, we've talked about this before as well when we were talking about frequencies. It was older buildings and the time they really took to build those older buildings and how beautiful they were.
The architecture,
and over time, especially in this country, capitalism, just throwing up buildings, duplexes. Just what can be the most efficient, most effective, what's going to make me more money. Condos. I can fit this many things in this amount of space. You're not worrying about how it looks so much. Right. Sometimes just make it look appealing enough to where someone will want to buy it.
It's just not artistic anymore.
Exactly.
Right.
But the thing is about beauty is it's not something you can necessarily explain fully, but you understand it's a feeling and everyone feels it different.
Well, I think that it has something to do with capitalism in itself. Like, as far as is the architecture in America, like, you're not gonna find many buildings or anything that are based off of artistic architecture. They're more business oriented. How many offices can we fit in this building?
Because that's what America.
Even the Empire State Building, the tallest building in America, it's a place where businesses work. It's an office building.
It's just tall.
It's an office building.
You're not gonna look at it and say, wow, that's the most beautiful building I've ever seen.
Right. It's like when you go to like Rome and Italy and France and things like that, it's like their their art and their architecture are distinctively different from each other and from ours. They have their uniqueness about it, and how they, and that's what's been so like
Memorable.
There you go.
I got you, bud.
I was gonna say memorial, but that's
Memorable.
memorable. There you go. No, yeah, it's what's so memorable. It's what keeps them. It's like the what's it called? The Leaning Tower of Giza. It's like, the fuck happened there, and how is it still standing? Who knows? It probably has something to do with the architecture.
It is, exactly. The engineers and the architects in that building were very precise, because that shit's wild to look at.
Exactly.
How is it still holding itself up?
I feel like if you're like standing outside that hoe and you're looking up, you're like, am I standing on level ground right now?
This is a crazy work of art.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like,
but with people going into this new age, maybe people will be able to be more creative, and that affects the way that we are, because they say there's studies out there. I can't think of the exact ones. You can look it up yourself, though. I promise you'll find it if you Google anything about it. But beauty in itself affects the way that we feel as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you go out. That's why when you go out in nature, you feel, fresh breath of fresh air. Mm-hmm. Said fresher breath air. God damn.
But that's also kind of true. It's like the only kind of like monuments of anything in this country that we have are natural things, like the Rocky Mountains or the fucking Grand Canyon or things like that. It's not things that anybody built. It's just like
natural.
Right. That's what we have. The things that we look at in this country that are appealing are skylines.
Sad almost.
It is.
It's beautiful,
but that has something to do with like the fact that probably back in the Gap when they were making Stonehenge and the pyramid, they weren't making them to make money off of it. There's a lot of money and time that goes into that. A lot of resources that goes into building these structures, and time and power and all these things. Probably definitely people died making that shit. Definitely people died making that shit.
For sure.
So
for sure.
At that point, their end goal was to make a structure that was so unique and memorable that all of history would remember it forever. Not how many businesses can we put in here to make our money back up from these resources. You know what I mean? It's like, we're going to spend how much time and how much money on building that, but we're not going to make any money back. No, we're good. All right, we're going to be over here making this building.
Exactly. That's so lame. And that affects...
It's lame, but you don't have the money to build these structures. So
you're right, but the thing is, they're not saying that's the leading cause, but those are partial reasons for why people do have depression and anxiety. You're staring at a blank wall all day, you're going to get sad.
I mean, yeah.
You're sitting in a dark room, blank walls.
Life is what you make.
I guess, but you're going to go a little crazy.
I mean, you can, yeah. It's very more likely to go crazy. Staring at a white wall all day, doing work for other people.
But it's scientifically proven for people who are around beautiful things, are scientifically beautiful things, which is symmetrical thing, because there's certain things that are scientifically beautiful. They say things that are more symmetrical.
That's weird.
There's certain art techniques that people use because they're calculated, that tend to be more appealing to the eye.
It's strange that people try to calculate and scientifically define beauty. That's weird.
It's in the eye of the beholder. But there are certain things that attract certain people, that have certain aesthetics that more people tend to find beautiful.
I feel like
than other things.
That makes sense as far as a probability standpoint, but it's like, why are you even trying to define that? Like, what do you find? What actual research are you finding and determining that?
Some people just want to find happiness and beauty in things, and sometimes, like, if I can scientifically calculate it, maybe I'll be able to find it within myself.
Isn't what's beautiful about life that you have the option to define beauty?
Yes. That is part of the beauty in life.
So why would you define it like scientifically and try to say this is what is and what isn't?
It's just a fact, man. It's just like,
I don't know. I'm not the scientist, man. Are you asking me?
But it's just the fact of why do some people find certain people more beautiful? It's certain features and certain symmetries within that people's features they have, which causes certain people to think they're more attractive.
I guess.
You can say I guess, but
I just don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me.
It won't make sense. It makes sense to me scientifically, but
scientifically it doesn't make sense, like, as far as like, bro, like, how much pussy are you not getting to where you have to define beauty?
Some people just want to know, man. Let them live their lives, dude. I don't have the answers to that because I'm not that guy, so I can't give you the answer to that.
Gets the pussy.
Well, I don't know though. It's not me trying to figure that out.
I know. I'm just fucking
But when people
busting your balls, dude.
There's certain patients that this is another reason why that people have done studies like this. Is there's certain people when they go into the hospital that recover faster. You know, when they're able to go outside, you know, see the flowers, see the birds chirping, hear the nature's of sound, see beautiful things rather than the ones just stuck inside all day.
Well, right. That's also has something to do with isolation.
Yeah, that as well.
And the fact that humans like literally need interaction. The worst punishment you could give a person in jail is like isolated.
Unless they're a psychopath.
Nah, even when they're a psychopath, you put them in a straitjacket in a fucking rubber room. Yeah.
Yeah, because they don't want to deal with their mind. That's true.
Or if somebody gets in a fight, they get thrown in isolation for a week or whatever. That's their punishment.
That's terrible.
Exactly. That's how you punish jail, like people that are in jail. That's literally the worst thing you can do to a human, except for killing them.
That wasn't part of the study, but yeah, that is true.
It wasn't part of the study.
That wasn't part of the study that I was.
I've done that study though.
But it's true. Isolation is definitely the reason that people go crazy.
Go crazy, yeah.
But with what I was saying is beauty is. It can be defined, but not necessarily, because beauty is going to be different to everybody. It's how you feel. It's how certain things make you feel. When you look at something or when you hear something, you think that's beautiful.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, not many people are looking at business buildings and saying, wow, maybe, don't get me wrong, it's an eye of the beholder.
Right.
For someone who sees dollar signs, I'm pretty sure they're saying, that's a beautiful building right there.
Because it's going to make me a beautiful amount of money, right?
But as something that you look at and kind of feel these fuzzies in your stomach and, wow, this makes me want to do something. You know, this makes me want to invent, or this makes me want to become a creator myself.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really have that in this country.
Right.
We don't really support that. Or like early, you know, when this country, not early, but in the 60s, 50s, you know, in New York and Cali, I'm sure you had those phases where people were really, things were vibrant, art was thriving, but then money takes over. I mean, almost every time.
Money only takes over in a individual point of view. And that's what I'm saying.
I mean, New York's become pretty much where it's rich and poor.
Look at Jim Carrey. Nothing he does is for money.
Now.
Even then.
He did love to make people laugh.
He loved being a comedian, and I'm not saying he didn't go to like casting events for the movies he was in, but it's not like he went there saying, I really need this paycheck. He was like, shit, I can do that role. I feel like I can do that role good.
I mean, he also did say though that he wrote out a check that said $1 million on it and manifested that to the point where he had $1 million. Okay. Which I'm not saying he did it for the money, but
what I'm saying is that look at that man and what he's created like now, and like he
does none of that for the money.
Right. Now, like all of his paintings and everything he does now, it's
beautiful work too.
Exactly.
Very beautiful work.
So like you could look at somebody like that and be like, well, they were a sellout because they were in Hollywood. And it's like, do you know that? No, you don't. What you do know is that they were in Hollywood movies and that they were successful in what they did. You don't know where they came from or how they got there. But my opinion is that like just hearing the way he talks about like his life and like his choices and like kind of the way that his soul was moved by the things that he's done and the things that he hasn't done, that man has a beautiful soul in my opinion. The simple fact that he's so creative in such a selfless way. Like all of his creations have been to either teach something or make somebody laugh.
And that's creation in its purest form, in my opinion.
Right.
And whenever you create not for money, which is where we've gotten to, but when you create purely from the depths of who you are, that's when the most beautiful pieces are created. And you don't see that too much. You still do, but you don't see that as much anymore.
Right.
And that's when I always talk about if we really tapped into our deepest potentials and did things for ourselves and really try to push our limits, not necessarily just to say for the money, but to say, hey, I did it and I can do what I want and I can create what I want to create and I can make these beautiful things and I can do it enough for myself. I can help this person next to me and it's not going to affect me because I know what I'm capable of.
Right.
And then it's a chain reaction at that point. You're sending it forward. And, you know, at this point, I guarantee you, Jim Carrey, if he helps where he can. He might not go out and we don't know what he does because he doesn't show out and say,
It's not.
"Look
Yeah,
what I did."
Right.
Even when you see his paintings, he's not the one to say, "Look what I did." It's
Right.
usually someone
Like
trying
saying,
to figure out
God,
about
did y'all
him.
see what Jim Carrey painted last week?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nah, I feel you. I don't know. I feel like whenever it comes to art these days, people are so selfish in a way is like to say, I'm so good, so therefore I deserve this amount of payment, or I'm so good, therefore you should like this amount or for this reason. It's like, okay, that's not art though. Art is supposed to be created in such a way that it's created so that it can be like it's your purest expression of like your emotions and how you feel and how you are, who you are, what you are, and for everybody else to determine what that is for themselves. You know what your expression is, but why do you have to continue to tell everybody what your expression is?
They can just feel from
Right.
what they see.
It's like at that, whenever you start telling somebody this is my art and this is what you should get out of it, at that point it's like, well, now I don't even have to listen to your album or look at your painting. That's what I should get out of it, right? Okay, I guess that's what I should get out of it. Why do I need your art anymore? Like the purest form of art, in my opinion, is the art that's appreciated without words. The art that's looked at and said, like, wow, that's beautiful. Like, I love art that isn't signed. I love art that's not signed, not because people can steal it, which people probably try to do, but for the simple fact that that artist made and spent that time on that piece, not to be recognized for
You
it.
see on social media all the time, you're not going to credit the artist. Oh, you're not going to credit me. I get it. You want to be credited because of the way everything's seen now.
Right.
But you don't always need to be. I always bring up this scene from the movie about Basquiat, the one that they didn't. It's a while back now. Great movie though, where he didn't do it for praise. He did end up making money, but he just did it. He was pretty much homeless, at one point. He just made art. One day he was hanging out with a bunch of people. Wow, who did that? Some rich person came by and said, I want that. And he started doing these pieces, but he started hating it because he had to do, in a time frame and whatever. This isn't what I want.
It was like if you write in a journal, now somebody reads your journal and now they want you to be a journalist and tell you what to write about. Now you hate writing because you're writing somebody else's story.
And the funniest part was at the end where he had this work of art, right? And someone was like carrying it around. Someone had stolen it. And he was like, hey, let me sign it real quick and do like a quick whatever on it. And they beat the shit out of him because they didn't realize he was the artist of the painting because he wasn't that person.
Right.
To say, hey, I did it. It was ironic almost, but it was funny and sad at the same time.
Right.
But you don't always need to be noticed for what you do if you're a true artist.
Right. Recognition matters as far as like if somebody's saying this is mine when it's really not theirs, and then they start getting all of this money and praise.
Yeah,
and
fuck
like,
that.
Did you see? Like that's fucked up. I understand that, but the like I said, the purest form of art is unsigned art. Like it's like this is my expression of what I have. Do what you want with it. I don't care. I love it regardless. Don't care how you feel about it. And do as you may.
And
Here
in
you
that
go.
case, you see people's purest reactions to it as well, because they don't know who did it. So what do they have to lose in saying whatever they have to say about it?
Right.
Getting to a world where I think we're progressing forward a lot, but there's some things in the past that we can still learn from, or we can gather from and still work on. There's some things in the past that I think were still beautiful, but there's also a lot of things we do need to leave in the past if we want to push forward and progress.
Yeah.
And create this new positive some world 0.0% of the world. Think about where we'll be 100 years from now. Think about 100 years ago. And if we're increasing even faster than we were then, where's 100 years from now? Where do we go? What's it going to be? Who are we going to be?
Well, you're assuming we'll still be here, which is a fat assumption.
Yeah, I guess we'll see.
Who knows on that one, but I don't know, man. I think as far as it goes, it's gonna take people to understand that life is bigger than themselves. If you can take care of yourself, that's great, but what more can you do for society? Like, I know that I can eat 3 meals a day, drink water, work at some job, and be productive, and I'll be fine. But is that all I want my life to be defined by?
Up to you.
Right. and that's what I'm saying. It's like once people understand that it can be more, they can wake up an hour earlier and be a little bit more productive, and they can do things for somebody that doesn't like them just to be a good person.
You don't always gotta expect return.
Yeah, for sure.
You shouldn't always respect return.
You should never respect return.
That's true. And if it is
expectations, the first step to disappointment, son.
This is the thing. Oh, I know we've talked about this as well, but when it comes to our friendship, it's not that we expect each other to do certain things. It's the fact that we do it regardless. That makes the friendship so strong. So we don't expect each other to just do this or do that, but we surprise each other in the fact that we show our love in our own ways. And that's more than it's more than you can ask of anybody, because you can't say you should show me love, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But for someone to go out of their way to do that without expecting them to,
right,
is more than you can ask for.
I agree. I would agree with that for sure. It's just you just have to be careful with where you put your energy. Some people will take advantage of you.
That's facts.
Don't do anything that you wouldn't let your mother do. How about that?
Or if your mother's an asshole, then just set boundaries for yourself and have standards for yourself.
There you go.
And if anything, the world's a crazy place, but I really do believe that we can make a change and we could push forward and create a world that we want to create, where altruism does come out on top, where we can help each other, and we can create a world of contributions to where we progress and become something better than what we are now. Instead of blaming everybody for things or throwing fingers, we take accountability for ourselves and it make the change we want to see instead of just...
Did you say throwing fingers?
Yeah.
Like chicken fingers?
Maybe just throwing finger guns. Nah, you know, you pointing fingers, fuck you, it doesn't matter.
There you go, bud. I thought you meant like throwing the bird or some shit.
That too. You don't go around doing that. Just make the change you want to see. You don't have to go around saying what this and what that is. You don't have to go around hating on people or saying you're wrong for that. Like, everyone's gonna have their own opinions. If you really want to make a change, start acting on it. Because saying things on social media isn't gonna change anything necessarily. You might make little changes, but if you really want to make the impact, go out there in the real world where things are actually happening. The things that you're talking about are actually happening in the real world. That's a real life thing. You're not gonna you can't press, hey, stop it with buttons and it's gonna stop. Or say, you're an idiot. That's definitely not helping anybody. So stop thinking that you bashing on people or you forcing your opinion, hey, that's really not helping anything. And if you think it is, okay, congrats to you, I guess.
On another note, stop letting people tell you how to live your life. If you know that you're doing good by yourself and by your family, don't allow people to tell you that you're a shitty person just because you don't have what they are asking of you. At this point, if you got your bills paid and you got money for yourself and groceries and all this other shit, but you don't got no extra money for other people and they're on your ass because they need money and you're not giving it to them, fuck that person. Keep doing your thing. They're not understanding that, you know, like, you gotta live too. Sometimes people will take advantage of you until you allow yourself to stop them. You have to understand who these people are and where you're putting your energy. Like I said before, some of these people will really allow you to spend your last dollar on them just for them to say fuck you. Daniel's got a lot of that in his life so far lately, as far as his roommate situations have been. He's extended his hand out too many times, I might add. And things didn't really end well.
I mean, they turned out okay though. I have friends that back me up.
I mean, we backed you up. Don't get it twisted.
I have good friends that definitely looked out for me and helped me out.
Talking about the situations that you were getting taken advantage of.
Yeah, but don't let situations like that turn you cold though.
I'm not talking about cold. You don't have to be cold. You just have to understand what's going on. It's like, don't allow yourself to get taken advantage of by people who don't have care for you. It's real easy to be misled by people that you've known for a long time. Just allow yourself to take people for what they are, who they are, and what they do. If somebody's gonna turn on their family, they'll probably turn on you too.
It happens. It definitely does.
I'm not saying that to be very like depressing or that you can't trust people. Just who you can trust, and you should understand that, and you should give those people your respect and understand that everybody else must earn your respect. Doesn't mean that you don't respect people or give them like a respectful tone when you talk to them, but it means that you understand where you put your energy, and it means that you have the wherewithal to stop yourself from doing something that will at the end of the day hurt you.
With that being said, be yourself, show a little compassion every day, show some love, learn to love yourself, and don't forget the challenge. Be as honest as you can be without being an asshole.
Boom.
Along with the other challenges, if you don't remember, said them at the beginning of the video. Learn to be yourself, learn to be kind, learn to be trusting and loving. And with that being said, this is Far From Finished. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Josh. Drink more water.
And love you guys. Y'all take care. Thank you.
Later.